Star Wars fans, the legendary Darth Maul had an apprentice that is still doing crazy stuff to the Star Wars canon right now. What's up guys, it's Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars here. Today we're talking about Darth Maul having an apprentice that is doing crazy things in the Star Wars comics right now. Now I'm sure many of you know that Darth Maul was cut in half in The Phantom Menace by Obi-Wan Kenobi, but did not die. His big return was in the Clone Wars when his brother Savage Opress comes and finds him and they go take over Mandalore. Maul being alive is not good news for Palpatine because he knows all of Palpatine's plans, so Palpatine goes to Mandalore, kills Savage Opress, and takes Darth Maul as a prisoner. Maul is Palpatine's prisoner for a long time, probably having tests done on him, probably being tortured, until his Mandalorian followers come and save him from that prison. Maul then regains control of Mandalore and slowly builds his underworld empire called the Crimson Dawn. Now yes, I'm sure the Crimson Dawn sounds familiar to you guys because the next time we see Maul is in Solo: A Star Wars Story, which quite frankly is a very underrated piece of Star Wars content. The Solo movie gets way too much hate for no reason. But Maul's appearance in the Solo movie, he has a lot more power than we last saw him. In the Clone Wars, the Crimson Dawn has grown a whole lot, but Maul himself is becoming more and more consumed by revenge. Because when you get cut in half once, I think you're gonna remember that. And from the moment his brother found him back in the Clone Wars, he has wanted revenge. He has wanted to find Kenobi and kill him. All this Crimson Dawn stuff, building all this power on Mandalore, has all just been a side quest for Maul. And at the end of the Han Solo movie, you see the character of Qi'ra being told by Darth Maul to come to him and they will begin their training. Yes, this means Qi'ra from the Solo movie is Darth Maul's apprentice. Now, she's not a Force user, but that doesn't stop Maul from having her as an apprentice, creating one of the most skilled fighters in the entire galaxy. Then there's a pretty big time gap, and the next time we see Maul is on Malachor 5 in the Star Wars Rebels animated show. And if I've said it once, I've said it a billion times, Star Wars Rebels is the most underrated piece of Star Wars content ever created. If you haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, go watch it immediately. Everything that's happening in the Mandalorian timeline right now with Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan, of course Grand Admiral Thrawn, and Ezra, it is all in Star Wars Rebels. So you're going to be extremely confused when this big blue dude shows up in the next season of The Mandalorian or in the Ahsoka show with Ezra Bridger, and you're like, who the hell are these characters? For now, we just have to speculate on what happened in that time gap. Maul trains Qi'ra for a few years, gets way too overwhelmed with his want for revenge on Kenobi, and goes to Malachor 5 to find answers in the ways of a Sith holocron. And when him and Ezra open a Sith and Jedi holocron at the same time, they get an answer to any question they want. And of course, Maul is asking, where is Kenobi? He finds Kenobi in the desert of Tatooine, where this is the end of Darth Maul. In one of the best and quickest lightsaber duels in Star Wars, Maul is finally actually killed for real this time. However, his apprentice Qi'ra is still out there doing damage. Now, the Crimson Dawn disappears for a little while after losing its leader of Darth Maul, but Qi'ra builds it up stronger and better than ever, and around the time of The Empire Strikes Back, comes back in full force with the Crimson Dawn. She has alliances with everybody, the Pikes, the Hutts, the Knights of Ren. Everything is connected to the Crimson Dawn and Qi'ra. And right now in Star Wars comics, the main storyline is Qi'ra and the Crimson Dawn, and she interacts with almost every main character from the original trilogy: Luke Skywalker, Leia, Lando, even the bad guys like Palpatine and Vader. She actually stands one-on-one with Vader because she is one of the most skilled fighters in the galaxy, being trained by Darth Maul. Now, like I said earlier, she doesn't have the Force, so of course Darth Vader bests her, but she is still a very, very capable fighter. Now, why is any of this important? Who cares what Qi'ra is doing? Who cares what the Crimson Dawn is doing? The Mandalorian timeline. Now, we've seen 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. We've seen a season of the Book of Boba Fett. We're going to get Ahsoka, Mando Season 3, the Skeleton Crew. We're going to get a ton of stuff in this Mandalorian timeline. So why wouldn't Qi'ra, who also has a connection to Han Solo, let's not forget, why wouldn't she be involved in this time period? Now, it is a big galaxy with billions, if not trillions of people, so all of these people showing up at the same time is unlikely. That's why Qi'ra and the Crimson Dawn can exist during the original trilogy, but have nothing to do with the original story. the same way that Grogu's still alive during the sequel trilogy, but he doesn't show up in the sequels. But we did see the Pikes in the Book of Boba Fett. It is rumored we're going to be seeing a younger Han Solo and Leia very soon, like we've seen a younger Luke Skywalker. And all these characters are kind of coming together. We're supposed to get Thrawn and Ezra and all these characters that we've seen before coming together. But we saw the Pikes in the Book of Boba Fett, and where there's the Pikes, there's other underworld organizations like the Crimson Dawn. Not to mention the fact, like I said earlier, she's involved with the Knights of Ren. And we know the Knights of Ren help Kylo Ren destroy Luke's Jedi Temple. So could Qi'ra and the Crimson Dawn and the Knights of Ren, and maybe even Thrawn, be the big bad of this Mandalorian timeline? Could she be the new threat? And I don't know if any of you guys know this, but when George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, he gave them an idea for the sequel trilogy, saying, kind of along the same lines of Rey, he wants a young female character be the main character, but also have Luke, Leia, and Han, and all the other great characters from the original trilogy. And the big bad guy is Darth Maul, in control of the underworld. He's been growing his presence in the underworld. Well, Leia is in the Senate building doing all of the New Republic stuff, but Maul is the big bad. Now, Maul, of course, has been killed off in Star Wars Rebels, but who takes the place in charge of the Crimson Dawn but his apprentice in Qi'ra? So I don't know if Lucasfilm or Disney caught the message that the Star Wars fans loved the idea for Maul and the Crimson Dawn to be the big bad right after Return of the Jedi, and maybe that's what they're trying to pull off with Qi'ra in the Crimson Dawn, because Qi'ra being the apprentice to Darth Maul is the next best thing. I don't know, you guys tell me in the comments, do you like this idea? Do you want the Crimson Dawn and Qi'ra to be around in the Mandalorian timeline? Are you excited that even though they killed off Darth Maul, they kept his legacy going with an apprentice in Qi'ra? And are you reading these comics? Are you reading the Crimson Reign run of comics right now that's coming out as we speak? Tell me in the comments, smash that like button if you like this video, hit subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video, and my pretty face will show up in the recommended feed of yours. Maybe Qi'ra shows up, maybe the Crimson Dawn shows up, but either way, the Mandalorian timeline is just getting started with The Mandalorian Season 3 coming out next year, and of course, my most anticipated show in the Ahsoka show. So don't miss out on any of it, hit subscribe, and may the Force be with you. Always.